I'm a huge fan of American superhero comics. And I find, and I do find that, like, I follow the writers more than I follow the artists when it comes to this. But I wanted to ask y'all why you think there are so few women in that industry. I mean, I think I've read through, like, I read all the little things at the beginning of the comic book that tell you who did what.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll see a woman on, like, inking or some small part of the art project, but she's never the main writer or the main artist. In general, I mean, I'm probably missing somebody, but why is it that manga appeals so much more to women creators than the American superhero industry?
I can answer that one. With manga, what you're looking at is you are looking at it coming from a different culture. Think about what women were groomed for. They were artists. They were supposed to be, even if you were unlucky enough to be the daughter born and there were no men born into the household, you were trained to be, if you were lucky, kabuki, the ultimate pretty art chick that did all this artistic stuff. Now that's distilled, it's come forward. So women in that culture are thought of more as being artistically inclined. Yes, men are to a degree with the sword playing calligraphy. Women were more for dancing, playing music, and calligraphy in artwork. So look at it coming from that versus here, where, you know, tie me to a chair and make me fat.
At the same time, like, I have a couple of friends who did a comic book on PR. They're from America. They did manga style. They all do manga style. And they were approached by Tokyopop to do a book. I don't think they're going to do it because it was Yaoi and Tokyopop is stupid, but they didn't know. But like, you know, like all my friends who do comic book art, all the people I know who do comic book art, I'm not an artist, I can't draw comics, but are doing manga style, and I don't know if that's because they never read American comics as children, or because that industry is so difficult to enter.
I think it's actually both things. I mean, it can be difficult. If you think there's no possible way for you to walk into Marvel and get a job,
Right.
Are you going to try?
Right.
So what you do is you look at the things that you are able to do, and you use those as your influence, because that's really where you're going to be able to find your niche more, and where you have the opportunity perhaps to get ahead and be noticed, because there is so much of the shonen that's out there. So I really think that it has to do with that. I mean, certainly there are artists, Keith actually gave me a book of women that were dominant in cartooning in America. And there's a list of them. I hadn't heard of any of them before the book. Thank you, by the way. But that's a problem. So I think now, because there's such an influx of manga and anime, it's not as easy to turn the page, as it were, on you know, what people can do.
I want to just make one comment about the American superhero books. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not a huge reader of comics, especially mainstream. So the American superhero books are kind of foreign to me. I hear about everybody in the guild, and my husband talks about it, and our friends, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. But I have to tell you that in the last year, I bought the trade hardback of Wonder Woman, Jodi Picoult. She is a famous best-selling author of chick books, which is fiction that I've read, that's my thing. She did Wonder Woman, and that is probably one of the first mainstream comic books that I actually started collecting for me and reading. So if you like that, and if you are drawn to female artists or writers, pick up Wonder Woman 6 through 10.
6 through 10.
6 through 10. Jodi Picoult. Excellent. She did an excellent job.
In the flowers, you were next.
Well, I was wondering, if this is a small question, but about your guild, do you accept minors? Like, can I join and be under 18?
Yes, absolutely. We'd be happy to have you.
And a quick question on hers. manga's newer
Oh,
to
yeah.
America, so it's like, oh, no, not too much printed sections. Yay.
Would you guys rather have the equal amount of women and men, or more women than men
In our organization or in comics?
in just everyday comics?
So long as you're a good artist and we can bounce ideas off of you, artists feed off of artists no matter what sex they are. It's just a matter of being creative people, and that's really what is the biggest deal.
I used to collect ElfQuest, and that was drawn by Wendy Peeney, and I just saw her and finally met her, and it was really cool because she was involved with the independent comic scene before manga and anime really became very popular.
And Keith got a sketch from her, 1 out of 10 sketches that were given out that day.
Yeah. But she was doing this whole book by herself, and her husband wrote it, but she was drawing all these pages, and it didn't look like a woman draw it, but she had a really cool style and a fantasy art appeal, and just took off. And a lot of people, I think, try to rip her off.
Well, it's always been a deep thing. See, she's always been better than he has, but we don't tell him that.
We actually have a husband and wife team in the guild that are members. Rick Silva is the writer and Jim Silva is the illustrator. And they do, what's the name of the book? Minions?
Minions for Hire.
Minions for Hire.
Carolyn Ball.
Yeah. And they actually work together and do their book. So what Richard and Wendy Peeney do is happening in the independent scene as well.
Okay, moment of truth. What other artists have you worked with? More men or women?
I'm the same one.
Yeah.
For me right now, like I've been doing stuff on my own, but I have just recently had someone ink a cover for me, and well, actually 2 things, and still yet to see if he finished it or not, but we'll see.
In my book, I do most everything by myself. It's kind of fun to look in the credits and see this team of artists, and me. Yes, I'm everyone. I have found that the reason why I ask is because I have found that when you tend to look in the credits of books that are done by women, you see 1 or 2 names. Where when you look in the credits for books that are done by more male creators, you see 5 or more. So it's not that we all have to go to the bathroom together. It's that the guys have to work together as far as business goes. No, I'm only joking. That takes on people. It's something that I have noticed, and I think that's something that in the future we're actually going to have to work on, because I almost feel that women now have this kind of like, we have to do it ourselves because no one's going to help us, because we're not supposed to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think there needs to be more solidarity. Personally, I don't really see it. It just seems like more like a warring faction type of thing, like Mean Girls or something. I don't know. But then again, I took hairdressing for 3 years in school, so maybe that's the bias talking.
Are there any more questions?
I thought I saw some hands that didn't ask a question.
So you can be a female creator and join and be involved in meetings, and what else can you do with JAG? Do they just do meetings?
No.
Do everything.
Yeah, actually, it's more than just a matter of that. A lot of the times there are workshops that are involved with the meeting, so we'll have a short meeting and then we'll have a workshop afterwards. We have guests that are involved, some professionals that are in the field. We have professors. A lot of the times the meetings are held at museums, at universities. We've been very lucky with a lot of our meeting places. Sometimes we just want French fries, so they're at diners.
Yep.
But you take what you can get. It's also not just about men or women in the books. The manga anthology that we're looking at putting together will involve creators. Now, I'll tell you that the 2 solid stories that I have received thus far, the concepts, are both single creator projects from women. However, there is a gentleman who will become involved that I was speaking with this weekend. So please, submit